Volume 2, Book 23, number 459, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's apostle used to invoke Allah, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhabil qabr wa min adhabin nar, wa min fitnatil mahya wal mamat, wa min fitnatil masih ad-dajjal. O Allah, I seek refuge with you from the punishment in the grave, and from the punishment in the hellfire, and from the afflictions of life and death, and the afflictions of al-Masih ad-Dajjal. Volume 2, Book 23, number 460, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet once passed by two graves and said, "They, the deceased persons in those graves, are being tortured not for a great thing to avoid," and then added, "Yes, they are being punished for a big sin, for one of them used to go about with calumnies while the other never saved himself from being soiled with his urine." Ibn Abbas added, "Then he took a green leaf of a date palm, and split it into two pieces and fixed one piece on each grave and said, 'May their punishment be abated till these, two pieces, get dry.'" Volume 2, Book 23, number 461, narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. Allah's apostle said, "When any one of you dies, he is shown his place both in the morning and in the evening. If he is one of the people of paradise, he is shown his place in it, and if he is from the people of the hellfire, he is shown his place therein. Then it is said to him, 'This is your place till Allah resurrect you on the day of resurrection.'" Volume 2, Book 23, number 462, narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Allah's apostle said, "When the funeral is ready for its burial, and the people lift it on their shoulders, then, if the deceased is a righteous person, he says, 'Take me ahead.' And if he is not a righteous one, then he says, 'Woe to it, me! Where are you taking it, me?' And his voice is audible to everything except human beings, and if they heard it, they would fall down unconscious." Volume 2, Book 23, number 463, narrated by Anas bin Malik. Allah's apostle, PBUH, said, "Any Muslim whose 3 children died before the age of puberty will be granted paradise by Allah because of his mercy to them." Volume 2, Book 23, number 464, narrated by Al-Bara. When Ibrahim, the son of prophet, expired, Allah's apostle said, "There is a wet nurse for him in paradise." Volume 2, Book 23, number 465, narrated by Ibn Abbas. Allah's apostle, PBUH, was asked about the children of mushrikeen pagans. The prophet replied, "Since Allah created them, he knows what sort of deeds they would have done." Volume 2, Book 23, number 466, narrated by Abu Huraira. The prophet was asked about the offspring of pagans, mushrikeen, so he said, "Allah knows what sort of deeds they would have done." Volume 2, Book 23, number 467, narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Every child is born with a true faith of Islam, that is to worship none but Allah alone, and his parents convert him to Judaism or Christianity or Magianism, as an animal delivers a perfect baby animal. Do you find it mutilated?" Volume 2, Book 23, number 468, narrated by Samura bin Jundab. Whenever the Prophet finished the morning prayer, he would face us and ask, "Who amongst you had a dream last night?" So if anyone had seen a dream, he would narrate it. The Prophet would say, "Masha Allah," an Arabic maxim meaning literally, "what Allah wished," and it indicates a good omen. One day he asked us whether any one of us had seen a dream. We replied in the negative. The Prophet said, "But I had seen a dream last night that 2 men came to me, caught hold of my hands, and took me to the sacred land, Jerusalem. There I saw a person sitting and another standing with an iron hook in his hand, pushing it inside the mouth of the former till it reached the jawbone, and then tore off one side of his cheek, and then did the same with the other side. In the meantime, the first side of his cheek became normal again, and then he repeated the same operation again. I said, 'What is this?' They told me to proceed on, and we went on till we came to a man lying flat on his back, and another man standing at his head carrying a stone or a piece of rock, and crushing the head of the lying man with that stone. Whenever he struck him, the stone rolled away. The man went to pick it up, and by the time he returned to him, The crushed head had returned to its normal state, and the man came back and struck him again, and so on. I said, "Who is this?" They told me to proceed on, so we proceeded on and passed by a hole like an oven, with a narrow top and wide bottom, and the fire was kindling underneath that hole. Whenever the fire flame went up, the people were lifted up to such an extent that they about to get out of it, and whenever the fire got quieter, the people went down into it, and there were naked men and women in it. I said, "Who is this?" They told me to proceed on. So we proceeded on till we reached a river of blood, and a man was in it, and another man was standing at its bank with stones in front of him, facing the man standing in the river. Whenever the man in the river wanted to come out, the other one threw a stone in his mouth and caused him to retreat to his original position, and so whenever he wanted to come out, the other would throw a stone in his mouth and he would retreat to his original position. I asked, "What is this?" They told me to proceed on, and we did so till we reached a well-flourished green garden having a huge tree, and near its root was sitting an old man with some children. I saw another man near the tree with fire in front of him, and he was kindling it up. Then they, that is my two companions, made me climb up the tree and made me enter a house, better than which I have ever seen. In it were some old men and young men, women and children. Then they took me out of this house and made me climb up the tree and made me enter another house that was better and superior to the first, containing old and young people. I said to them, that is my two companions, "You have made me ramble all the night. Tell me all about that I have seen." They said, "Yes. As for the one whose cheek you saw being torn away, he was a liar, and he used to tell lies, and the people would report those lies on his authority till they spread all over the world. So, he will be punished like that till the day of resurrection. The one whose head you saw being crushed is the one whom Allah had given the knowledge of Quran, that is knowing it by heart, but he used to sleep at night. He did not recite it then, and did not use to act upon it, that is upon its orders, etc., by day, and so this punishment will go on till the day of resurrection. And those you saw in the hole, like oven, were adulterers, those men and women who commit illegal sexual intercourse. And those you saw in the river of blood were those dealing in riba, usury. And the old man who was sitting at the base of the tree was Abraham, and the little children around him were the offspring of the people. And the one who was kindling the fire was Malik, the gatekeeper of the hellfire. And the first house in which you have gone was the house of the common believers, and the second house was of the martyrs. I am Gabriel, and this is Michael. Raise your head. I raised my head and saw a thing like a cloud over me. They said, that is your place. I said, let me enter my place. They said, you still have some life which you have not yet completed, and when you complete that remaining portion of your life, you will then enter your place. Volume 2, Book 23, number 469, narrated by Hisham's father Aisha said, I went to Abu Bakr during his fatal illness, and he asked me, in how many garments was the Prophet shrouded? She replied, in 3 sahulia pieces of white cloth of cotton, and there was neither a shirt nor a turban among them. Abu Bakr further asked her, on which day did the Prophet die? She replied, he died on Monday. He asked, what is today? She replied, today is Monday. He added, I hope I shall die sometime between this morning and tonight. Then he looked at a garment that he was wearing during his illness, and it had some stains of saffron. Then he said, wash this garment of mine and add 2 more garments and shroud me in them. I said, this is worn out. He said, a living person has more right to wear new clothes than a dead one. The shroud is only for the body's pus. He did not die till it was the night of Tuesday and was buried before the morning. Volume 2, Book 23, number 470, narrated by Aisha. A man said to the Prophet, P.B.U.H., my mother died suddenly, and I thought that if she had lived, she would have given alms. So, if I give alms now on her behalf, will she get the reward? The Prophet replied in the affirmative. Volume 2, Book 23, number 471, narrated by Aisha. During his sickness, Allah's apostle was asking repeatedly, where am I today? Where will I be tomorrow? And I was waiting for the day of my turn, impatiently. Then, when my turn came, Allah took his soul away, in my lap, between my chest and arms, and he was buried in my house. Volume 2, Book 23, number 472, narrated by Aisha. Allah's apostle in his fatal illness said, Allah cursed the Jews and the Christians, for they built the places of worship at the graves of their prophets. And if that had not been the case, then the prophet's grave would have been made prominent before the people. So, the prophet was afraid, or the people were afraid, that his grave might be taken as a place for worship. Volume 2, Book 23, number 473, narrated by Abu Bakr bin Ayyash. Sufyan at-Tamar told me that he had seen the grave of the prophet elevated and convex. Volume 2, Book 23, number 474, narrated by Urwa. When the wall fell on them, that is graves, during the caliphate of Al-Walid bin Abdul Malik, the people started repairing it, and a foot appeared to them. The people got scared and thought that it was the foot of the prophet. No one could be found who could tell them about it till I, Urwa, said to them, By Allah, this is not the foot of the prophet, but it is the foot of Umar. Aisha narrated that she made a will to Abdullah bin Zubair, Do not bury me with them, the prophet and his 2 companions, but bury me with my companions, wives of the prophet, Pbuh, in al-Baqi, as I would not like to be looked upon as better than I really am, by being buried near the prophet. Volume 2, Book 23, number 475, narrated by Amr bin Maimun al-Audi. I saw Umar bin al-Khattab when he was stabbed, saying, O Abdullah bin Umar, go to the mother of the believers Aisha and say, Umar bin al-Khattab sends his greetings to you, and request her to allow me to be buried with my companions. So Ibn Umar conveyed the message to Aisha. She said, I had the idea of having this place for myself, but today I prefer him, Umar, to myself, and allow him to be buried there. When Abdullah bin Umar returned, Umar asked him, What news do you have? He replied, O chief of the believers, she has allowed you to be buried there. On that, Umar said, Nothing was more important to me than to be buried in that sacred place. So, when I expire, carry me there and pay my greetings to her, Aisha, and say, Umar bin al-Khattab asks permission, and if she gives permission, then bury me there, and if she does not, then take me to the graveyard of the Muslims. I do not think any person has more right for the caliphate than those with whom Allah's apostle, Pbuh, was always pleased till his death. And whoever is chosen by the people after me will be the caliph, and you people must listen to him and obey him. And then he mentioned the name of Uthman, Ali, Talha, Az-Zubair, Abdur Rahman bin Auf and Saad bin Abi Waqqas. By this time a young man from Ansar came and said, O chief of the believers, be happy with Allah's glad tidings. The grade which you have in Islam is known to you. Then you became the caliph and you ruled with justice, and then you have been awarded martyrdom after all this. Umar replied, O son of my brother, would that all that privileges will counterbalance my shortcomings, so that I neither lose nor gain anything. I recommend my successor to be good to the early emigrants and realize their rights and to protect their honor and sacred things. And I also recommend him to be good to the Ansar, who before them had homes in Medina and had adopted the faith. He should accept the good of the righteous among them, and should excuse their wrongdoers. I recommend him to abide by the rules and regulations concerning the dhimmis, protectees, of Allah and His Apostle, to fulfill their contracts completely and fight for them and not to tax overburden them beyond their capabilities. Volume 2, Book 23, number 476, narrated by Aisha the Prophet, Pbuh, said, Don't abuse the dead because they have reached the result of what they forwarded. Volume 2, Book 23, number 477, narrated by Ibn Abbas. Abu Lahab, may Allah curse him, once said to the Prophet, Pbuh, perish you all the day. Then the divine inspiration came, perish the hands of Abu Lahab, and perish he, 111.1. Volume 2, Book 23, number 478, narrated by Ibn Abbas. Thy prophet sent Mu'ad to Yemen and said, Invite the people to testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and I am Allah's apostle, and if they obey you to do so, Then teach them that Allah has enjoined on them 5 prayers in every day and night in 20